Hey everyone, so with Halloween just around the corner, I thought what better time than now to make a horror-based tier list where I'll be ranking some of horror's biggest icons based on how I think they'd perform on the disc golf course. I'm going to try to get right into it. I would like to keep this video under 10 minutes as I'm only going to be covering 10 of the icons or villains. So here are our tiers. So we have GOAT, World Champ, 1000 plus rated, Advanced, Intermediate, Rec, Novice. I just kind of grouped them all together. And then down at the very bottom we have Trash. The 10 I'll be ranking. So there's about 35 or 40 here, but I'm just going to take these first 10. So from Jason to Hannibal, I'm just going to go through quickly, discuss strengths, discuss weaknesses if there are any, and decide where they'd rank on this tier list. And if I get good feedback, I'll probably include another 10 or maybe do the whole 35, 40. But at least want to start with 10 in under 10 minutes. That's my goal. So getting into it, first up we have Jason Voorhees. So Jason, he seems like he would be an absolute bomber, 360 backhands, throwing 600-700 easy. As far as weaknesses go, I think his physical strength, his stature will allow him to be one of the furthest distance throwers, but I think it will hurt him when it comes to touchy shots and having finesse with the forehand, backhand, scrambling, short putts. I see him struggling in that part of the game, but obviously the distance will carry him a long way. The second weakness that comes to mind is his connection with his mother. So it's like if his mother's voice is in his head telling him to make this putt, execute this drive, that will mess with him. If someone messes with his mother's shrine while he's on course, he's going to leave the course. Even though disc golf's a big thing for him, he's going to leave the course, he's going to DNF, he's going to lose the tournament. So I'll put Jason in 1000 plus rated, but I think that last weakness related to his mother potentially derailing tournaments for him, I think that's what holds him back from being a world champ. So next up we have Pennywise. So Pennywise is a really demonic clown that defies physics. It shows up every 27 years. So that 27-year time gap between being able to play obviously will hurt Pennywise's game and chances. But Pennywise's mental game is extremely strong, probably stronger than anyone on this list. Pennywise has a way of getting into cardmates' subconscious and exploiting their worst fears. So for many of us, it's short putts, straddle putts, death putts, hitting tight gaps, things like that. Pennywise will sense that weakness, that fear, and feed off of it, causing you to see things, hear things that aren't actually there. So Pennywise's ability to impact other people's games, regardless of how well Pennywise is playing, that's still a massive advantage over everyone. Because at the end of the day, in a tournament, you can play bad, but if everyone else plays worse, you're going to win. So I think that propels Pennywise a long way. The 27-year weakness, like I said, that hurts Pennywise, but I still think it's enough to push it to advanced. 27-year rule doesn't exist. I think Pennywise would be 1000 plus rated with the ability to manipulate its competitors. Next up we have Leprechaun. So Leprechaun, small frame, ridiculous outfit, probably can't throw further than 50 feet, but has the ability to teleport, levitate, mimic voices, really you name it, Leprechaun can do it. It's all reliant on Leprechaun's gold. So Leprechaun will probably keep the gold on the cart, and if someone were to take the cart, run away with it, Leprechaun would lose his abilities and he'd be back to just being a 2-foot frame competing against everyone else, and that's not going to bode well. So that's obviously one weakness is the gold, but then also you have like the 4-leaf clover. He comes into contact with it or he consumes it, it'll kill him. Wrought iron, I think, is another one of Leprechaun's weaknesses, and there's a few more. So those weaknesses or vulnerabilities to some of the elements he could run into on the disc golf course, that's certainly holding him back. But when none of that's in play and Leprechaun, even with the 2-foot frame, is able to use those abilities, like levitating, wherever that would come in. But I'd say more importantly, teleporting, being able to throw off other people's games by mimicking voices, things like that. That could go a long way. So I'll say advanced for Leprechaun. And if some of those weaknesses came into play, then Leprechaun would immediately move to trash if he loses those abilities. But we'll assume those are there most of the time. Next up, we have Art the Clown, probably the hottest horror icon in the world right now, thanks to the success of Terrifier 2. I believe Art has GOAT potential. He's an immortal clown, so he'll be able to work on his game and compete in tournaments for eternity. So it's feasible that he'll get a world title eventually, at least. And then also, Art just has a truly creepy demeanor that I think will impact even the most grounded competitors like Michael or Hannibal. I think Art, with that creepy outfit and creepy face, smiling with blood in his teeth, blood on his outfit, not saying a word, I think that will really get to a lot of competitors. So I'm going to say Art, world champ. Maybe we'll get to GOAT, but certainly is at that level. Not to mention that frame is built for disc golf. Next up, we have Michael. He's very strong. He's very unfazed by really anything, although I think Art could be the exception there. But I would say that he seems stiff to me, like he wouldn't be able to throw very far, wouldn't be able to scramble, wouldn't be able to straddle, things like that. He's just very stiff in that jumpsuit. So I think that holds him back. But I'd still say 1,000 rated, and if he started stretching every morning, I think Michael, he's certainly in that world champ tier if he could loosen up a little bit. Next up, we have Chucky. Chucky, he's a great trash talker, but I don't see him throwing more than 25 feet in the doll's body. And he's obviously prone to blowing up. He's a hothead, so I'm going to put Chucky in trash. Next up, we have Freddie. So Freddie, if we're talking the dream world, Freddie's the GOAT. He's unstoppable. But once he's on hole one's T-pad, in the real world, I think he's going to be pretty average. Not to mention, I have a feeling he's not going to take off the glove. So he's going to be trying to throw a backhand, forehand, putting with the glove. And that's going to be an absolute disaster. He'll probably get himself hurt in the real world. So I think that holds him back. And yeah, he's kind of left with play with the glove or throw left-handed, and neither is going to bode well for him. So I'm going to say intermediate rec novice. I think he could get by in those divisions, but he's not going to thrive by any means. Next up, we have Carrie. So Carrie, I think I'm going to put Carrie in GOAT status for now, at least among this group. She has the ability, or she has telekinetic abilities, which that will be hard to beat in a 3-round, 4-round, 5-round, you name it. If Carrie wants to put it in the basket on one throw, she can do it. She can shoot 36 under. And with those telekinetic abilities, she'll also be able to have a tree limb fall when you're trying to tee off, have a horn blow when you're putting. It's like telekinetic powers, unless she was overcome by something from one of the other villains that threw her off her game, like Art smiling or something like that, or Pennywise sensing weakness, she'll be unstoppable. Next up, we have Leatherface. So Leatherface, I'm going to go ahead and say trash. Certainly has some physical strength, there's no doubt about that, but mental game, not great at all, and I'm sure there will be some resistance to letting the chainsaw go. So trying to play disc golf with the chainsaw in hand, it's going to be a disaster. So Leatherface, I'm going to say trash. And then lastly, Hannibal. He's a genius. He'll know how to fix his game, know what's wrong with his game. Very intimidating player to be around, but I think his physical strength will hold him back some. I'll say that's probably the toughest one yet. Advanced or 1,000? I'll say advanced, just because of the physical strength, and he's not supernatural like some of his competitors. All right, so there we go. So Carrie down to Chucky and Leatherface. Finished in just under 10 minutes.